lays it up and in. Anthony Johnson.
First shot of the game for the College of Charleston. And Willis Hall. Seconds. 5 seconds. Drew right side. High arcing three for the tie. Good! With 2.1 to go. Billy drives straight to the basket. Way up. And good! Overtime!
Welcome, everyone, to a new edition of Hang Time with the Cougars, an opportunity to catch up with some of our College of Charleston basketball, the elite, the ones that really kind of put this Charleston program on the map. As you can see, we have the Cougars now, Earl Grant joining us. And, Coach, we got 2 big-time ex-Cougars joining us on the inaugural edition of our new feature here. We got Anthony Johnson and Andrew Godlock, Coach, 2 of the 3 AP All-Americans joining us. And, Coach, I know with your recruiting, it's probably a lot easier to get into some of these homes when you throw around names like Anthony Johnson and Andrew Godlock.
Well, I mean, I think the really important thing to take from this, first of all, I really appreciate, Anthony and Drew, coming on and spending some time and hanging out with us. This is their program. They built the program, and starting with Anthony, he was the first guy that really made people dream big about, doing good things at the College of Charleston, but at the same time have the opportunity to have a chance to play pro ball afterwards, because a lot of times at this level, I think people don't assume that you can make it from here. They think you got to go to the biggest school, the Power 5 school. So, just watching what AJ did here, the career that he had, and then going on and playing for a long time in the NBA and really having great success, and then even coaching in the NBA is just it's something that I talk about a lot in recruiting, just what he was able to do at a place like the College of Charleston. So just really excited to have AJ on. And then the same thing with Drew. I know he played in a different era. He came in years behind Anthony, and he did the same thing, made it possible for kids to dream that maybe you can play in the NBA or have a chance to play over in Europe. And I thought both of those guys, are still having great success and still a big part of basketball.
AJ, let's start with you. Of course, back in the John Kress era, I believe you and your squad, you guys were the original giant killers of all of the big games and big wins you had in your career at Charleston. And I guess, Ant, let's just start off with, you're from Charleston, played your high school basketball at Stall, then made the journey to C of C. Just kind of summarize your 4 years at Charleston in terms of playing and just how proud you were to, for the most part, really put this program on the map and kind of get it to this Division I level that it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I was blessed to be part of the College of Charleston family at such a young age. At 10 years old, I was a ball boy. My older brother, Steven, who has his jersey number, retired. And a lot of the former guys, John Pearson, Steve Yetman, being able to watch all of those guys play at the NAIA level, allowed me to, kind of understand what I was getting into. And of course, having the leadership of Coach John Kress, who's one of the best coaches of all time, it just allowed me to kind of fulfill my potential as a ball player. And also with the help of a lot of great teammates, Marion Busby, Marcus Woods, Thad Delaney, Stacey Harris, Rodney Connor. We had a lot of great players to come to the program. Luckily, things worked out for me to where, I was able to achieve success on the NBA level. But, it was a helping hand from a lot of other individuals. And, I know Andrew could speak to this as well. But, it's a lot of people that help you along the way. And, I was able to have success, and the big man upstairs really shined his light on me.
I know, Drew, I think I've told you this story before. Your journey coming from Atlanta area, not really known, didn't really play on the AAU circuit. And I still remember Kyle sitting at Ye Old Fashioned on King Street with Kyle Perry. And he says, is this kid in Georgia? Like, I got to get this kid. I got to get him to Charleston. So, all right. He said, it's us and Kennesaw State. And I think at that time, Drew, Kennesaw State wasn't even Division I.
Yeah, they wasn't D1.
And I said, Kyle, wait a minute, you're against Kennesaw State, and we're the College of Charleston because of things that Ant and his guys did. So I told him to do that tail of the tape like they used to do in the boxing matches. I said, all right, Charleston on one side, but Kennesaw State on the other. Send it to Drew, send it to his parents, and lo and behold, I think you were the steal of the recruiting class, Drew. Talk about your time at Charleston, because much like AJ, you had a pretty good supporting cast that came in with you as well, and you guys you were a solid bunch, but of course you were the kind of the gem of that crew.
Yeah, well, we were Coach Crimmins' first real recruiting class. Me, Antoine Wiggins, Jeremy Simmons, and Donovan Monroe. And I mean, we were able to grow together the 4 years that we were there. I mean, we still talk daily. And I love those guys like brothers. I mean, they call them my brothers. They're godfathers to my kids. And I mean, they really helped me along the way. We all learned from each other and we grew from each other. But also Coach Crimmins, I mean, he did a lot for me in my development. It's not just a basketball player, but I think once I turned the corner as like being a better person, my basketball game kind of turned the corner as well. And I owe that a lot to Coach Crimmins and just my experiences at the college. I mean, I was getting in a lot of trouble. I was always doing stuff. And, you know, the more that time kind of passed and the more I learned and matured, the more things kind of took off for me. But like AJ said, I mean, it's a combination of things and people that have to go right, you know, for you to really be able to sustain a successful career through college and then even after. So I'm blessed. We're all blessed. And, you know, I was really fortunate to be able to come to the College of Charleston. I was only getting recruited by the College of Charleston from a Division I standpoint. And my parents were like, you're going there. And so whatever you drew up, they basically made me go. They were like, you don't go there. We're not going to support you. So you know, once I made the decision and I started to research the history and I heard about AJ and Dante Draper was there at the time. You know, that was somebody I was looking up to. And, you know, those guys really paved the way for people like me and Grant, you know, that just graduated and, you know, the next guys that are going to come. So it's been a family and team effort from everybody.
All right, so, Ann, I got to tell, I told Coach I was gonna throw this one at you. All right, so you see today's game. Now, of course, AJ, you're the all-time assist leader at CFC. My question is, would you have been the all-time assist leader if you had the freedom that Godlock had under Coach Crimmins? Earl gives his players now to just basically shoot if you're open.
Yeah, I mean, the game was played differently. You know, I was the traditional point guard. Magic Johnson was my guy. So it was one of those things where, you know, people love to play with people that like to pass the ball. You know, like, you know, Rodney and Stacy and Thad, you know, those dudes, man. You know, I think they enjoyed playing with me. And at the same time, they were always asking for the ball, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just one of those things. Passing was easy for me, and it just makes everyone want to play with you. So the assist record, that's just a byproduct of, you know, playing with good players and spitting the ball in the cup, like guys like Angel, who's our leading scorer. You know, scoring wasn't really that big of a deal for me because, yeah, I didn't even score 1,000 points, but I was able to do it all. You know, it was almost, you know, unwritten rule, you know, just get us to the 3-minute mark and then I'll take us home. So, you know, it was, I would pass up until that 3-minute mark. Then once the 3-minute mark came, then it was time for AJ to go ahead and take us home. So, yeah, that was, you know, kind of my characteristic of playing ball. But, yeah, now, man, it's free flowing. It's trying, you know, people trying to put up as many points as possible. And the game has changed, but you got to get on board and change with it. So, yeah, playing with the young guys sometimes in the summertime, I'm so used to people running for layups. You know, Earl and his guys, these boys running to the corner for threes, man, you know, it's just, it's a little different. It's a little different, but, you know, that's the game, that's the game nowadays, and it's evolved, and, yeah, people are running to shoot the 3-ball. People, yep.
Speaking of the 3-ball, Cougar Nation, I mean, Andrew Godlock. I mean, the joke that we used to say on the radio was when Drew gets across the half-court line, you might want to pick him up. And, you know, I just always think back to, obviously, your time, Drew, when you were at Charleston. There was probably only one other guy that could shoot quite like you. And obviously, you know, we're talking about Steph Curry. Talk about some of those shooting battles that you had, Drew, because to this day, you know, with no Steph Curry at Davidson, easily you lead Charleston to probably 2 or 3 NCAA tournaments. but you were just a lethal scorer just as much as he was.
Yeah, man, he was, I think, a big inspiration for a lot of us in the Southern Conference. I mean, what Steph was doing was just, I mean, it was pretty unbelievable. And I just kind of got confidence from playing against those guys. We would talk about them at nighttime, me, Twan, and G and Donovan. We would like really, go and talk about how we wanted to beat those guys. And we would talk about how we thought we were just as good as those guys and anybody else that was in the country. And I mean, it was just, for us, it was just a pleasure to play against those guys. We knew that Steph Curry was going to be on ESPN, Dick Vitale was going to be there, and it was going to be crazy. And we just, we just tried to roll with it. I mean, it was always a big thing. I think when I was a freshman, they beat us by 40. So, we learned from those things. And just watching Steph Curry, I mean, I learned a lot just by watching him. I mean, I felt like I was a better player than he was, but he was so effective in the way he was coming off, shooting, coming off screens, with the ball. I mean, whole teams were planning their defenses around him, and he was still scoring 30. So, I still learned a lot from him. He's one of the best players that ever played the game. So I definitely, don't take for granted the fact that, he was in the SoCon and we got to have those battles.
Now, Coach Grant, you, again, went to Stall about the same time, a little bit later than AJ. So I know you obviously saw AJ excel at Charleston. And, Coach, I'm trying to figure out on the fly, were you on – Drew, did you beat Clemson when we played at Clemson? Were you on that team?
Nope. That was the year after I left. That was Antoine and all those guys.
Okay. Because, Earl, you were on that staff at Clemson when Charleston won at Clemson, correct?
Right.
Okay, so that's why I was trying to figure out if you had coached against Drew, and obviously I know what you've done for AJ, but yeah, Coach, we talk about you always looking for that recruiting, that recruiting advantage, and for you being from Charleston and being able to say, literally probably, Coach, by the end of this year, there will be 5 guys that have come from Charleston that has made it to the NBA. Just talk about the power of that and what you're trying to build. It's like you said, you don't have to play, at that Power 5 school. You can just come to Charleston and, hey, if you can play, they'll find you.
Well, I think the biggest thing I take from, even listening to Anthony and Andrew's story, they weren't over-recruited, and I think there's a certain type of player that can be successful here. I think the guys that come here that are really successful, they don't look at this as a place where they feel like they needed to go to a higher level to perform. They almost have that chip on their shoulder, and they got that mindset of, I'm gonna make it big time right here where I'm at. And so, when you think about these 2 guys here, talking about, hey, I had Kennesaw State, and I know Anthony got recruited, but, it wasn't like a big, long list of schools trying to pursue him. I think that's a job of a coach to evaluate guys. And I think this is a job where recruiting would mean that I go into Atlanta and I go beat, Xavier for a kid, or I go beat, a really good team like maybe Georgia Tech for a kid. But evaluating is I go take a kid that somebody else don't really want, and I develop him, and then all of a sudden people say, well, where did you get him? And so, an example with Jarrell Brantley, or, you look at Joe Cheeley, or even Grant Riller now, who may, by the grace of God, he'll get drafted late first round. That's what everything I'm hearing, but it might be second round. But these guys were under the radar, and they came in with a chip on their shoulder, and they were trying to prove something to people, and they were about the right thing. So I think that, this is a place where you got to evaluate, and you got to find diamonds in the rough, and then you got to develop them and help them guys really grow into players. But my first time really seeing where College of Charleston, my first college basketball game, College of Charleston played Florida International in the old Johnson Center. And it's funny because I think Anthony, I don't know if he had just came off of his ACL and they were going into that next year. And I remember him doing he had a steal in a fast break. They went a 2-2-1 press, and he came down on the right side of the floor, and he did a reverse dunk. And he kind of went up to the right and bring it back to the back and dunked it backwards. And I was like, man, these boys playing big-time basketball. And that was the first time I really noticed, as maybe a 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid, being in high school, watching a college game in my city. I'm like, man, these guys are doing something. And that inspired me. And so I'm just I think it's a situation where you got to go evaluate the players. And you're not going to go beat Georgia Tech and in some of these schools for players. But I think finding diamond in the roughs and developing them, that's the DNA of this program.
You know, and you had so many big wins in your career at Charleston, from NCAA tournament wins to big regular season NIT wins. Is there one win that is bigger than the other that really just stands out to you in your time at Charleston?
Yeah, I'd probably say there were two. I think, the TAC championship our senior year, FIU was a good team, but the Johnson Center was just unbelievable that day. It was our first opportunity to win an at-large bid. We had it here in our building. The environment was unbelievable. ESPN was there, and just FIU was just tough. They were just a tough opponent for us, but the building and the electricity in that building was just unbelievable, and we were able to pull it out. But then the tournament game against Maryland, the matchup when they announced it, Stacey being from Virginia, Stacey Harris being from Virginia, he was excited about playing Maryland. But the Maryland that I knew, they pressed. They were a tough ACC team. So it was, I know for me personally, it was a little bit of caution, but I was excited because of the troops that I was going into battle with, and having Coach Kress lead us. I was pretty confident that we could win. And, that game, just everything went well. Everything went right. We were just on it. Stacey was hitting from the outside. Dan and Rod and Ted Weber was dominating on the inside. And, of course, I just made a few plays here and there. But the NCAA tournament win against Maryland will probably stand out, as one of my greatest wins.
And what was it about you guys in those big situations? I think of, beating Maryland, almost defeating eventual national champion Arizona.
Yeah.
I think you also got Tennessee a couple of times. Talk about those FIU teams, which, if I'm not mistaken, is that the team that had Raja Bell on it?
They came the next year. But
okay.
They were pretty good.
But what was it in those games? Is you guys always seemed prepared, and you couldn't tell. The only difference was the name on the front of the jerseys, but the personnel and the execution. I mean, you guys you seem to be right up there with those teams.
Yeah, the biggest thing for the program when I was a part of it was the competition that you had in practice. We had a bunch of dogs in practice. Trying to score on Marcus Woods. Yeah, you just wasted your time, so to speak. And then, you got Thad down there playing, Rodney Connor blocking shots on each side of the backboard. So me personally against, Shane McCravey, Buzz, playing against Marion Busby. Like, there was a lot of competition in practice. And that's kind of how Coach Kress, had things. We were like junkyard dogs. So when it was time to play against someone else, you kind of salivated at the opposition. And of course, whenever you play in those big schools, this is your opportunity to kind of, to get your hands on them and handle your business. So the preparation that Coach Kress had for us, also just the fact that we were junkyard dogs and the practices were harder than the games. And, just having a CFC on your chest and going out there to prove that you were just as good as those guys. Like Andrew said, he was recruited by 2 schools. I was recruited by 1 school. The Citadel recruited me, but they fell out at the end. So the College of Charleston was kind of my only Division I opportunity. So, when you have a bunch of guys like that are not being highly recruited or recruited as highly as they think of themselves, you're going to, build a whole legion of junkyard dogs. And when it was time to play ball, that came out in our play.
Drew, it's known as the shot. Take us back to that last, was it like 10 seconds? Of course, we're all talking about the shot against North Carolina, which, kind of crazy enough, the Cougars will be playing North Carolina again this year down in Chapel Hill, but next year they'll be back at TD Arena. But Drew, just the shot. You've been known for a lot of shots, but that particular one, Drew, kind of give us just your thoughts on how that went down.
Yeah, and it was crazy. I thought Tony White Jr. was about to turn the ball over. He ran down the floor, put back his leg. So at that point, I was just trying to get the ball, trying to get a good shot up. Deion Thompson, who I've actually played against overseas a bunch of times, he contested the shot. I thought he was going to block the shot. I mean, I mean, he had outstretched arms. I mean, it was a great contest. But yeah, man, sometimes you get, the grace of God helps you out, man. You get lucky. I've hit a lot of crazy shots, but for sure, that North Carolina game was, number one on my list. I tell people all the time, that was probably the craziest day and night of my entire life. Like, just, being with all your boys and your friends. And we talked about that stuff. We all were under recruited. And y'all know how it is, AJ, Earl. I mean, having that chip on your shoulder can take you a long way. And we all had that. I mean, we were all mad about being under recruited. We all felt like we were better than these other guys. We paid attention to the rankings in high school, and we know who these guys were, but they didn't know who we were. And I saw that as a sign of disrespect because I didn't, they put their pants on the same way I put mine on. So when we got ready for that game, man, it was something unbelievable. And Coach Crimmins had us super ready. We watched a whole tribute video before the game, and it was a special day, a special night.
Now, Drew, I got to ask you, how did the floater come about? Because to this day, I still have not seen anybody that had that consistency with you being able to blow by the defender and just once you got inside the paint, just the floater. How did that come about? When did it start? And just how that has kind of been just a part of your game? And are you still unleashing the floater at the professional level?
So this crazy Jeremy Simmons, we played against each other in high school, and G was blocking everything. I mean, guys were going for layups. He's sending it to the third row. And I'm like, I'm not the most athletic guy. I'm not dunking on anybody. I'm not, doing a whole bunch of reverse layups, Kyrie Irving stuff. So I try to figure, what was the easiest way for me to be able to get my shot off, and the big man not be able to impact my shot. And so, that was the easiest way for me because every big is going to jump for it. They're not going to get it. They swing it hard. And, I mean, it was just an easy shot for me. It's essentially my layup, where other people will get down and try to maybe do a reverse layup or try to find contact and get a foul. For me, it's easier to get up a floater. It's a shot that you don't have to be super athletic for. I mean, it requires touch, so it's not an easy shot. And, I mean, it's different variations that you can get that shot off of one leg or 2 feet. And for me, I just kind of built on it. I saw how effective it was for me. A lot of people tried to run me off of the line because I was able to shoot the ball so well. And, I mean, it was just a great solution for me. I still use it. Yesterday, I used it at least 30 times. I don't even think I did a layup. And I make a lot of them. I mean, I make them at a high percentage. So it's been a good shot for me. Sometimes I ask myself the same thing, like, where did you even come up with this weird-looking shot? But, I mean, it goes in. So
both of you guys obviously played at the professional level. And, AJ, I'll start out with you. I think a lot of people were kind of coming to see the Shaq and attack, the Adeline, and then all of a sudden they come across this 4 long-arm point guard that proved that he could play. When did you feel like, AJ, maybe after your senior season, maybe going to some of these combines, that you kind of thought this was actually a reality and that you were going to be able to fulfill your dream of playing in the NBA?
Yeah, my junior year, I was a decent player, but I kind of leaned on Stacy, Rod, and Thad to score and do most of the stuff. But the summer before my senior year, I went to visit Mark Woods in Atlanta. And visiting with Mark, we played up at Georgia Tech basically for a whole week. And up there was James Forrest, Drew Barry, and Steph Marbury, who was just the second pick in the draft. And the whole week, basically everyone matched me up with Steph because, none of the Georgia Tech guys wanted to guard him. So, I was matched up with Steph the whole week. And he outplayed me. Without a doubt, he outplayed me. But I felt like I was in his neighborhood. And if this is the number 2 pick and I'm in his neighborhood, then I'm going to make a run at this thing. So immediately came home, spoke with Coach Kress, and told him, what had transpired in Atlanta. And he basically gave me his blessings and just said, let's go for it. And, of course, my work ethic really went through the roof. I started working a little bit harder and then, of course, just killed it my senior year. And then in the draft camps, it was just a continuation and went on during the season. But, that weekend in Atlanta playing against Steph Marbury where he was the number 2 pick, that boy was special, and he was coming out, he was a tough guy, but I felt like I was in his neighborhood, and that kind of let me know that I could go ahead and make a run at this NBA thing.
Drew, what about you?
I guess it was kind of similar. I had a pretty good junior year. We beat North Carolina. We had some good games, and I just, my confidence was really high. My confidence was always high. When I first got to the school, I thought I'd go to the NBA. So confidence was high. I felt like I put up some good numbers. We beat some good teams. Coach Crimmins was talking to me about possibly going into the draft after my junior year. And so I was just, it was something that I was thinking about. And it was like going into my senior year, it was like, hey, if I had the ability to, potentially get drafted as a junior, what would have happened if I played even better this year? So that was kind of my motivation. I wanted to have fun my last year and just play my heart out and see what happens. And, stuff happened.
Now, AJ, of course, you had the fortune of playing in the NCAA tournament. Drew, you came awfully close so many times, but I thought a lot of people around the country was introduced to you even more at the three-point shootout competition, which I just happened to come across the other day. Talk about what that was like, being labeled as the best shooter in the country is out there at the Final Four. You won the three-point shootout.
Yeah, it was interesting. I shoot all the time. That's just what I do. So we were out there practicing before the three-point contest with all the other guys, and I wasn't really paying attention to them. I kind of looked at all their forms, and I was like, I kind of got a chance to win this. And then I kind of stopped because I was just in my zone shooting, and they were all just staring at me shooting. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, and they were like afraid, like, we don't really know, And so I kind of knew that I had the leg up on them. But, this is something I always done, man. Shooting is something that I always took pride in and had fun doing. When I wasn't so athletic, when I didn't have great ball handling skills, I was always shooting jump shots. And, so I was able to win that three-point contest. It was big. Coach Crimmins was there right in the crowd supporting me. Another time that I won't forget, my kids still play with my trophy.
All right, guys. So before we talk about your professional careers, I want to ask both of you, because I know you both still follow the program today. And obviously your relationship with Earl. Talk about just how proud you are of Earl personally, because obviously you know him, but also how he has absolutely turned this program around and leading the college to the first NCAA tournament almost since 1999, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've known Earl a long time. With us growing up in North Charleston, and him and I attended Starr High School, being coached by Coach Deese. We've had a long relationship, and I'm proud of the guy outside of basketball. I'm proud of the guy that Earl has grown into. He's a great human being, great person. We talk pretty often, and the success that he's had at the College of Charleston is, something that I, not to say expected, but I just know with hard work, you're going to get things done. And Earl is one of the hardest working coaches and people that you'll ever meet. And, to turn the program around when we were kind of in a period of disarray, hats off to him and his staff. And Earl is, he's destined for, even bigger and better things. And I just know that the program is in good hands with Earl as a coach and as a person. And, Earl always has my support 1,000%. I'm always a phone call away. And like I said, we talk pretty often. So, Earl has really done a tremendous job, being a head coach of our program.
Drew?
Yeah, man, to piggyback off of that, I'm just proud of where the program is going. From when I got there to now and seeing the changes. With Earl coming on, it's not easy to have a black coach in America, a black head coach is being successful, and everybody's loving them. I see how the players respond to him. And I talk to the players often, and just the type of guys that he's bringing out of there, man. I love everything that's going on there. I actually wish that, I actually had some time to spend with Earl and get to know him a little bit better. But from afar, everything that I've been seeing has just been great. And I love it. I love it for the college.
So things going on right now, AJ, a very heralded career in the NBA, playing a couple of NBA finals, just a very decorative career. Obviously, just a lot of success and first to play in the NBA. And I guess let's go back to draft night because pretty soon, obviously, Grant Rilla will have to experience that as well. AJ, what was it like for you on draft night? Where were you? And just talk about the emotions going through that particular night.
Yeah, my older brother, Steven, he played professionally in Europe for 15 years. He owned the house over in West Ashley. So myself, my family, and about a group of 40 of us watched the draft. I was pretty sure I was going to get drafted. But just the anticipation of hearing your name called, basically, going into where the best 400 players in the world having that opportunity was something that I was looking forward to. And to hear my name called, it's life-changing. It's life-changing. And, speaking with Sacramento that night, they had me in their plans that I was going to make the team. I was going to have the opportunity to, the earn playing time. It was just, a great opportunity that the big man blessed me with, and I just tried to take full advantage of it. And, that night was, the beginning of a new life for me. It allowed me to set my family up in a position to take care of all my loved ones and earn a good living and just set me up for the rest of my life. So I was blessed on that evening, and I just took the opportunity and ran with it.
All right, so for Drew, obviously, you probably had the same somewhat feeling, thought you might get drafted. What was that night like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I went from being projected to be undrafted to kind of working myself in there anywhere from the first round to the second round, kind of like Grant is in his situation. I was at home. I didn't really know who was going to pick me or, if I was going to get picked at all. It was just me and my family. It was during the lockout year, so things were a little weird. And, I was kind of, I was really sad, really mad, more angry after the first round. You see guys that you played in the workouts with, and you might have destroyed these guys, and they getting drafted ahead of you. So I was a little mad. But I heard the Lakers call me with the 42nd or 41st, whatever pick, and it was a happy moment for me and my family as well. Just know that you're going to have a good journey. It's only 60 guys that get drafted in the NBA a year. So, it was a big, big thing for us. And, I was definitely happy for it. It started a journey for me. So I'm trying to preserve that journey as long as I can. But it was definitely a good start.
AJ, it actually worked out well for you. The Kings actually had Bobby Hurley there at that time, and unfortunately he was in an accident. You were able to kind of step right in. But talk about just your time in Sacramento and, kind of being a rookie. And, again, talking about that chip on your shoulder. You're coming from the College of Charleston. You're going up against, America's guy in terms of Bobby Hurley. What was that like for you, your rookie year there in Sacramento?
Yeah, it was a lot of competition. I watched Bobby Hurley have a illustrious career at Duke and being the number 7 pick, but he was coming off of a bad car accident and working his way back into, being a good NBA player. But competing against him and also competing against the former Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. Of course, he had some political stance, and that the NBA was kind of holding against him, but he brought it every day in practice. So competing against those two guys day in and day out kind of let me know that, this is not for the weak. You got to play ball and you got to bring it. And as well as playing against a lot of other guys there in practice, everyone had great college careers back in those days. So, Mitch Richmond, Paulus Williamson, we had a lot of Billy Owens, who was one of the top, power forwards that can handle the ball, point forward. So there was a lot of guys there in practice that you just watched and, they had great college careers. And now you're on the court, sharing the court, barking orders at these guys, so it was a little different. But, you had to show your mettle. You had to show your work. And I remember one of my first few practices, Mahmoud was trying to come at my neck. And everyone was kind of like looking at me like, what you gonna do, young fella? So I had to strap it on, like, you know, I got to let them know I'm from Chucktown and let them know what this is, you know, I'm about that life. So so I was going right back at them. And, you know, of course, you know, it's just one of those things that, yeah, when you're on the court, you know, sharing the court with Kenny Andersons and the Rod Stricklands and the John Stocktons and the Karl Malones, those people of the world, man. Yeah, you just gotta strap on your boots and get to it. And yeah, I'm blessed to say that the practices prepared me for the games. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time in the NBA.
I have to say, Drew, if that's what Ant went through in Sacramento, you were drafted by the Lakers, and well, your nickname is Mini Mamba. So what was that like going against Kobe and the guys? Your time in LA.
First of all, I was like starstruck, like my first time seeing any of the guys. You know, you get there earlier and, you know, you kind of train before, but like the first day of training camp, you know, when Kobe Bryant walk in, you know, he walk in with his shades, say nothing to nobody. And I'm just sitting there like, that's Kobe Bryant. Like, I watched this guy on YouTube. I steal his moves. Like, I've acted like I was this guy in my driveway. Like, this is just, and I didn't even say anything. I was staring at him. But, you know, AJ can tell you, once you get on the court in the NBA, it's kind of like a different mentality. It's kind of like you got to be a dog. Like, if you're not a dog, then they're going to step on you. Like, they're going to destroy you. And so for me, it was kind of the same thing. After about 2 weeks, I kind of started to feel, you know, I got fed up. I'm not really practicing. You know, I'm on this team. I'm thinking I'm about to come out to LA. I'm about to be hooping. I'm the third or fourth guy. Whenever I get on the court, they like play full court defense. I'm like, defense, what? So, you know, for me, it was a big thing. It was like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to start doing other things. I mean, I'm not out here to be Kobe. This is Kobe, you know. So for me, I had to talk trash to him. I had to talk trash to other guys. I had to really just try to stand out. And I mean, he saw that I wasn't afraid of him. He saw that I wasn't afraid of any of the moments that were coming. And I mean, I would talk crazy to him in practice, you know. Everybody was afraid of Kobe, so nobody really wanted any type of problems in practice. You know, we double teaming him in practice and stuff like that. So I mean, he would be killing guys, but he saw that, you know, I was right there with him, and I would score whenever I wanted to. I obviously couldn't stop him, but who could? So, you know, but we would obviously go at it, and he respected that. He could tell that, you know, my love for the game was definitely thick, and I respected him. Everybody respects him. And it was just crazy being able to see him every day and soak up the knowledge that he was given, and to see him put on some incredible displays.
So, guys, yes, your era is somewhat different. I almost kind of sliced the NBA like almost in three different eras. And now we're in this new era that obviously Jarrell Brantley and Joe Chile and Grant Riller are getting ready to participate in now. And your era against now, what are some of the things that, even though it's a different era, if you had a chance to talk to Grant, you could say, hey, this is the life in the NBA. This is things that you absolutely have to do, shouldn't do. Just what would be some advice that you could give to Grant?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's all about being a professional. It's about showing up early, staying late, always working on your craft. You know, 2-a-days, you know, practices in the morning, then coming back in the evening, getting in weight training, shooting, taking care of your body. You know, this is your life. This is your job. So it's just one of those situations that you get out of it when you put into it. And I know Grant, he's a hard worker. I know he's going to, you know, do his part as far as being a professional. But it's just so much that goes on behind the scenes, not in front of the camera, that you have to take care of. And, you know, with the NBA, and Drew can attest to this, you might not get your opportunity the first month of the season, the first 3-4 months of the season, or maybe even your first year, you might not get an opportunity. But when it comes, that's your time to shine, and you have to take advantage of that opportunity. And to take advantage of that opportunity, you have to be prepared. So, you know, preparation is the end all be all, being a professional and just being ready. And, you know, we all want it the first day. We all want to be the number one pick. We want to be the number one guy, but it doesn't work like that in NBA. You got to kind of pay your dues. You have to wait. And, it's just, it happens. You will get your opportunity. That's the one thing. You will get your opportunity, and you just have to crash the door down when it happens. So, I know G is going to be ready. And, it's just about, all the things that he's learned in the program under Earl, and just taking that and time and, timing that by 1,000, and just knowing that, now you consider one of the best in the world, and you have to perform as such. So when he gets that opportunity, just to take advantage of it with the preparation.
Drew?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest phrase that I heard once I got to the NBA was stay ready. I mean, you never know when somebody's going to get hurt. You never know when the coach might just say, hey, today we need something different. You never really know. Being a young guy, when you come in there as a rookie, it gets a little frustrating because you have expectations, and you get there and you see that there's a lot of guys. Everybody that came from college was the man. Everybody had crazy careers up to this point. So like AJ said, you might have to wait some time, but as long as you stay ready and you keep that chip on your shoulder, it's still basketball. So once you get your opportunity, just do what you've always done. Keep that chip on your shoulder. That's my biggest advice. I mean, that chip has gotten me where I am right now. And I think for Grant, I can see it when he plays with his aggression. If he keeps that chip, I mean, he'll be fine. Just stay ready and keep that chip.
And you mentioned earlier, today's player, those guys, they want to get buckets. They're not really trying to worry about assists. So it's safe to say, Ant, that your assist record is safe because people just don't. Drew, how worried were you this year when G was coming up? It was like a countdown. Earl was kept saying on the broadcast, like, don't bring it up. Like, just, we don't need him to average 30. We need him to play within the confines. But were you kind of peaking the box score after every CSC game, Drew?
I had already come to the realization that he was going to break the record. So coming into his senior year, I was like, yeah, he got this. Like, hey, it's a young guy. I was telling people, it's a young guy at College Charleston right now. He about to break the record. This guy's a bad guy. I need to check him out. So it wasn't for me. It wasn't any kind of like competition. I was hoping he would break it, because it's, for me, it's nothing. I mean, for him to break it would be another really good player coming out of College of Charleston, and another really good player doing something really big. So, but I definitely kept up with it a little bit, and I was surprised that he didn't. But he had a great career anyway. It doesn't matter.
Because Earl, you always hear the big Power 5 schools talk about the brotherhood and just the togetherness of the alumni and guys that are now in the league. And obviously, these two right here, Earl, are the first two for us. And obviously, we got two right now playing up there at NBA between Jarrell and Joe and Grant. And Earl, for you, just as kind of like the leader now of this program. Just hearing these stories and hearing these guys talk about where you're the leader of now, what does that do to you, and how does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, number one, it brings chills to my skin, just because I followed their career. Obviously, again, watching Anthony all this time through College of Charleston and what he did in the NBA for a long time, and then then just following Drew. My wife graduated from the College of Charleston, so when I was at Wichita State, we were watching the game against North Carolina, College of Charleston versus North Carolina, when he hit the shot, and in our living room in Wichita, Kansas. So, just watching what these guys have done in their career is very, it's like inspiring. And I think they gave the inspiration to the next generation to believe that they can make it. And just talking to Jarrell and Joe, those guys are trying to make it. They're in the NBA, but they're trying to survive. And talking to them about how hard it is, how political it is. I know Jarrell Brantley came to me over the summer when he had a break with the Utah Jazz, and he was just telling me, like, just how much he was getting his butt kicked, and how challenging it was, and trying to see if he was going to make it. And everybody was congratulating him, and he felt like he wasn't in the NBA. He was trying to make the NBA. So I think, knowing how hard it is. So when I think about, Anthony and playing 10 plus years, or, and Drew playing with the Lakers and still playing ball now, I commend you guys, and I'm inspired by the fact that you could, hold on so long, because I know how hard it is. And just from talking to those young guys, I can see the challenges that are presented when the outside world think you got everything you need and you fighting for your life every day. So, and so for Grant Riller, I'm really hopeful and prayerful, that the hard work he's put in over his time here at the College of Charleston for 5 years, that he'll get a great opportunity. And that's in God's hand. And I look forward to seeing how that transpires over the summer. The draft won't be until late August probably. So it's a different year. He doesn't get a chance to go to any of these workouts or the Portsmouth Invitational. So it'll be a different kind of year. And hopefully he'll have his chance to stick. But I do know how hard it is. And that's why I say I commend, Anthony and Drew having that long career, because it's a grown man's business. And it takes a lot of toughness to be able to do that for a long period of time.
Now, Coach, you just brought up a good point, and I saw Drew shaking his head when you mentioned that it's political. Drew, I've been asked a lot, how is Drew Godlock not in the NBA? I mean, he's a pure shooter. The guy can flat out score. They don't play defense in the NBA, at least in the regular season. How is Drew not in the NBA? I know you played with the Lakers, and also I think you had a brief run with the Rockets, which you talk about no defense, the Rockets. In your mind, like, what happened, Drew? How did you just not have a career like AJ in the NBA?
So when I got to the NBA, like I said, it was a lockout, so we had a short year. It's kind of like what Grant is about to go through. We had a shortened season. I just came in. We started on Christmas, our first game. So I didn't have much time. I was on a title contending team, and Mike Brown basically told me, like, hey, you're a rookie. We're supposed to win a championship. I can't trust you. You're a rookie. So he was like, I can't lose my job over a rookie. I was like, okay, so what you saying? And he was like, you're not about to play no more. This was with 4 months left in the season. So I'm like, okay. I didn't play anymore. The season was over. I went to summer league. They picked up Steve Nash, Dwight Howard. They picked up a whole roster. And they were like, hey, they called me in the summertime. They said, hey, you're on a non-guaranteed. We only got one roster spot left. So I was like, okay. I came back. I did, everything I could, but Dwight Howard got hurt early in our training camp. So Robert Sacre was able to have a great opportunity. He earned a spot. So I got cut there. Went to the G League. I won the MVP. I did everything that I could possibly do. I got called back up by the Lakers. I played pretty well in the playoffs. Right after the playoffs, I'm thinking, okay, I played okay. Maybe I should get some opportunity from somebody. Nothing. I went back to summer league. I destroyed it again. Nothing. So, people say, hey, you can come to training camps, and AJ knows how this works. They started offering me training camp deals, partial guarantees, and I felt like I had put in enough work. I'm not signing a partial guarantee. I'm not going to a non-guaranteed deal. I've destroyed all your guys and your guys and your guys. If y'all not going to pick me up here, I'm going to go make my money somewhere else. A lot of players don't realize that we have a short window to make as much money as you can to sustain you. So once that kind of hit me, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm sitting around here, I'm destroying everybody that I'm playing against, and the NBA is still kind of tiptoeing around me. What's going on over here? They said, hey, we'll give you this. We'll let you play your game. You'll be the man on our team. And I said, okay, hey, it sounds like a plan for me. And it was always my dream to go to the NBA. But once I got there and I saw how political it was and how much, you going to this school mattered, or you knowing this person mattered, or you kissing this person's butt mattered. And I'm not that kind of guy. I went to College of Charleston. I'm not the guy that's going to be everywhere. I just hoop. So once I kind of figured out, what was going on, I seen a lot of guys stand in the D League for 4 and 5 years. I was like, that's not going to be me. And I just made a decision. It was at a fork in the road, basically. And it was like, hey, you can go right here and you can continue to follow the NBA, and maybe you'll make it one day, or you can go and make some money for your family. I was having a child, and I was like, I'm not playing around with this NBA stuff anymore. If they call me back, then cool. But if not, I've been there, I've done it. I'm good with it.
And for Ant, like you said, 13 years in the league, and you just always seem to find a spot. when that team needed a veteran voice, someone they could, trust and knew that they would be ready for you. And just how did all of that come about? Because you played for several teams, but I guess that says a lot about your work ethic and character that so many teams had interest in you.
Yeah, I think the one, are a few characteristics about me that really helped me in NBA. My toughness, my ability to defend, and my ability to win. That was just one of the things that, I hung my hat on, being a winner. Whether it was coming off the bench or starting, I think that was a lane I pegged out for myself, that I was a backup point guard, but I could start. And you look at my career, I probably started 60% of the games that I played in. So I wouldn't consider myself an NBA starting point guard, but whether there's injuries to the starter, I could come in and hold the fort down and probably, improve on our winning percentage. So that was one of the things that, I hung my hat on, as well as, just reinventing myself like every 2 or 3 years. I came into the league, this athletic point guard, who can handle, pass a little bit, defend. Then it came, 2 or 3 years. Can I make an open shot? Because I really couldn't shoot. I wasn't fortunate like Drew to have that beautiful stroke. So, I worked at it. And, a couple years in, I changed the thoughts of whether I could shoot or not. So I would start, making open shots, then shots off the dribble. Then it was corner threes. Then it was threes all around the horn. Then it was pull-up threes. So every 2 or 3 years, I reinvented myself, and that allowed me to stick around for as long as I did.
I gotta say this, AJ. My bad. I don't know if I ever said this, man. I'm super proud of everything that you did for all of the players that have come through the school, man. Because I know playing that long in the NBA. I mean, I played 3 years, and only one of them was a full year. Playing that long, and I mean, I still watch film today, and me editing, I'll see you pop up, and I'm like, man, I didn't know you played for that team. I'm just like, I mean, it's a big deal for me because I know what it takes to be able to do that. I know what it takes to be able to be into that group and get over that hump. And then once you get over that hump and you're accepted, where teams say, hey, yeah, we can trust this guy. And that's a really hard point to get to. I mean, if you're not a top 5 pick, you're not a first round pick, a lottery pick, it's very hard to get over that hump. So, man, it's a great thing that you did, man, for future guys that's looking at it. I mean, it's a really tough thing. And I'm happy to say that, we went to the same school and I was chasing you.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate it. I know, luckily I was the first one, the trailblazer. Of course, there's a lot of things that I learned on the fly that I didn't have anyone to teach me. But, it worked out. And I was blessed, and I always tried every summer to come home and share all that stuff, all that experience with all the young guys, whether it's playing pickup, whether it's hanging out doing, my little camp week, or whether it's at nighttime, us all hanging, having some adult beverages. It was always, trying to help, you young guys, get that opportunity. And, of course, talent has a lot to do with it. And, Drew, Grant, as well as Jarrell and Joe, those are some talented ball players that come through the College of Charleston. But, being a trailblazer is, I was blessed. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about, sharing that experience and helping the younger guys, trying to pull them up as well. So I try to take great pride in that.
I'll ask both of you guys, were you guys shocked at how many people knew the College of Charleston in the NBA, or shocked that more people didn't know and came up to you that, well, where's College of Charleston?
I think for me, pure basketball, people that are basketball purists, they know the CFC. And I tell this story, that shot that Andrew hit against North Carolina, Vince Carter and I, we were teammates in Orlando. And we were watching the game together. Oh man, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable because I was talking mad trash the whole night. For us to even be in the game with North Carolina, they have all these All-Americans, and Vince, of course, his career is just unbelievable. We were watching the game, and when Drew hit that shot, I died. I died. I swear to you, the rest of the night, I was on cloud nine the rest of the night. I remember we were in New Orleans, so we went to the casino. Of course, everything was on Vince that night. It was just an unbelievable night. And, that shot, as well as a lot of other games, really put the CFC on the map. So we're there now. I think a lot of people recognize the C just playing. They recognize the big C without even the Charleston. They just know the college. And, I think that comes from the basketball program that we have in the past and, here in the present. And, there's a lot of big games and a lot of talent that's come through the program. So, everyone recognizes that C nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. The basketball players that are really, into the game, when you meet other pros and they know who can really hoop, they know about the College Charleston. They know. It's not that you don't have to say much. If you say, because it's going to happen. When Grant, I'm sure it's happened to Joe and Jarrell, you get around all these professional guys. A lot of these guys went to Kentucky and, all these huge schools, and they had these crazy experiences. And they say, hey, man, where'd you go to school? I went to College Charleston. They might give a little look like, but they'll remember you from somewhere because we've done so many things over the years. I mean, we've beaten big teams. I mean, it's been on ESPN. Guys have seen this stuff. So, I mean, like AJ said, I got people that pure hoopers, they know.
It'll be, I'm sure, coaches, I'm pretty sure Jarrell, maybe not as much Joe because Joe doesn't talk as much, but I'm sure Jarrell is reminding everybody, on everyone he comes in contact with. I know for a fact the guy Justin Wright Foreman, who played at Hofstra, him and Jarrell are teammates. And so when we were playing Hofstra this year, I got like a little message from Jarrell saying that him and Justin were watching the game together, and that obviously they were giving each other the business. So it's just good that you guys, obviously, you don't forget where you came from, and you have that pride. And again, without you guys, who knows where Charleston will be. So I guess, Earl, this means next year when Carolina comes here, we got to make sure we get Drew to come back and just let Roy Williams see Drew.
Can we put him in a jersey?
we'll slide him a jersey. Let him put that number 3 on. So, Coach, you got anything you want to add before we wrap it up? This has been awesome catching up with these two guys. Again, they really are, put Charleston on the map.
Yeah, really, man, just for me, I wanted this to be about these guys. And so, a lot of pride goes into this program. And just want you to know, obviously, this is your program. This is your program. I'm just trying to usher it and try to find some success while I'm here. And just really happy that you guys laid the foundation for what we have now, because, I joke with the guys about where the locker rooms were. Sometimes I would leave the new building and go on my way to Silcox through the locker room area where the lockers were. And I remember seeing how that looked, and now I know what we have now. So just really proud of what you guys were able to build, and we're just trying to sustain it and kind of take it to the next level. In these next years. So, but appreciate you guys for being on, man. Enjoyed hanging out with you. And anything we can do for you, we would love to try to help.
Yeah, I would like to give a shout out. Let me give a shout out to Otto German, Remus Harper, the first 2 black players at the College of Charleston. They paved the way for players like myself and Andrew Garlock, as well as, Ken Gustafson, Stephen Yetman, Stephen Johnson, Marion Busby, Thad, I got to give a shout out to Thad, Rodney, and Stacy. Those are my guys. So shout out to all the former players of the CFC. Of course, Andrew and I, as well as Joe, Jarrell, and Grant, we probably get most of the notoriety, but there's a lot of great players that come through the College of Charleston that has turned into great men. So shout out to all those former players, past and present. Everyone has laid a brick in this foundation.
Agreed.
So, Coach, I think so Drew said he thought he saw you in Atlanta yesterday riding around.
I did. I saw him.
Can y'all find some like 6'6", 6'7" swings? Just say I'm the Coach Grant. Y'all just go ahead and do the initial recruiting, talk, and then Coach Grant will follow up and close the deal.
Well, hey, obviously they both know good talent, so they should be able to lead me to somebody every now and again.
Hey, man, they got this COVID-19, man. If he ain't on the golf course, I'm sorry. I ain't running into nobody.
If he ain't playing no golf, you ain't going to see him.
Hey, guys, again, we appreciate it, man. This is good. This is our first one of hanging with the Cougs, and so looking forward to doing this again. And, yeah, if you guys ever need anything, just give us a shout, and thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate you guys having us.
Yep. Thanks for having
All right,
me.
that's
Be blessed,
Anthony
guys.
Johnson.
Be blessed.
Anthony Johnson, Andrew Garlock, Earl Grant. I'm Everett German. I say thanks for watching this edition of Hanging with the Cougars.